I need to tell this in order, because if I don't, it sounds like nothing happened. That's actually the whole point of this story. Nothing happened. Nothing happened for months. That's how it works. I moved to a new apartment in Columbus in March, after a divorce that took about a year longer than it should have, because neither of us wanted to be the one who left first. I was 31. I had a job I didn't hate, a cat who did hate me, and a laundromat 2 blocks from my building, because my new place didn't have hookups. I want to start with the laundromat, because that's where I met him, and because for a long time I believed that was a coincidence. His name was Daniel. He was doing laundry on a Tuesday night, same as me, and we ended up talking while our machines ran, because there were only 4 dryers, and we'd grab the 2 next to each other. He made a joke about how the lint trap situation in that place was a public health crisis. I laughed. It wasn't even that funny. I laughed because I hadn't talked to a man who wasn't my ex or my coworker in about 8 months. And it felt nice to be looked at like that, like a person and not a problem. We didn't exchange numbers that night. I want to be clear about that because it matters later. We talked for maybe 20 minutes. He said something like, "Well, I'm here most Tuesdays. Guess I'll see you around." And I went home and didn't think about him. Or, okay, I thought about him a little, but in the way you think about a nice stranger. A small good thing in a bad year. I saw him again that Friday. Not at the laundromat, at the grocery store on Whitmore, the one with the terrible parking lot. I was standing in front of the yogurts and I heard someone say, "So, do you follow me? Or do I follow you?" And there he was, holding a basket with, I remember this exactly, a baguette, 2 limes, and a jar of instant coffee, which is a combination of items I still think about. We laughed about the odds. "Small neighborhood," I said. He said, apparently, "Here's the thing I need you to understand about how this felt from the inside. It felt like the universe was doing something. I'm not a mystical person, I don't read horoscopes. But when you're 31 and newly divorced, and your self-esteem is basically a wet paper bag, and a handsome man keeps appearing in your life through no effort of your own, some very old part of your brain starts whispering the word fate. And I let it whisper. Everybody would. That's not stupidity. That's just being a person. The third time was the coffee shop near my office, which, note, is not in my neighborhood. It's a 20-minute drive from my apartment, downtown, and he was in line ahead of me on a Thursday morning. And when he turned around with his cup and saw me, his face did this thing, surprise, then delight, then something like shyness. He said, "Okay, this is getting ridiculous." And I said, "Are you sure you're not following me?" And he laughed and said, "I was about to ask you the same thing." And I want to be precise here because this detail took me months to understand. He did not ask for my number. He said it was great running into me, wished me a good day at work, and left. He left. And I stood in that line feeling weirdly disappointed. And by the time I got my coffee, I had decided that the next time I ran into him, I would ask for his number. My idea. You see what happened there? I didn't. Not for a long time. The 4th time was the laundromat again, a Tuesday, and I asked. He seemed genuinely pleased, a little surprised, like he hadn't wanted to presume. We got dinner that weekend. He was, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise, a fantastic date. Attentive without being intense, funny without performing. He asked questions and remembered the answers. He knew when to talk and when to shut up, which, after 9 years with a man who did neither, felt like a miracle. He told me he did IT contracting, mostly remote, which explained the flexible hours. He'd moved to the neighborhood in the fall, he said. Divorced too. No kids. One brother in Arizona he didn't talk too much. His apartment was on Del Rey, about 6 blocks from mine. Everything fit. Everything was plausible. I checked none of it because who checks? You don't run a background check on a man because he buys limes. For about 2 months, it was genuinely good. And I want to be honest about that because the stories people tell about this kind of thing usually skip the good part. And then everyone in the comments says, "How did you not see it?" And the answer is, there was nothing to see. He never raised his voice. He never criticized my body or my job or my friends. He remembered that my cat needed a specific brand of food and once drove across town to get it when the local store was out. My best friend Maya met him and texted me afterward, "Okay, he's real. Where do we order more of these?" The first strange thing was so small I'm almost embarrassed to say it. We were walking to dinner, and I mentioned a podcast episode about deep sea creatures. And he said, "Oh yeah, the anglerfish thing," and made a joke about it. And we laughed, and it was only later, brushing my teeth, that I stopped and thought I never told him which episode. I'd listened to it that morning, on my commute, alone in my car. I hadn't mentioned it to anyone. I explained it away in about 4 seconds. Popular podcast, new episode. He probably listened too. That's what your brain does with anomalies when the overall picture is good. It sands them down. One weird splinter against 2 months of kindness. The math isn't close. The second thing, my sister came to visit in June, a last-minute trip I found out on a Wednesday, and she arrived Friday. I hadn't told Daniel yet. We didn't have plans that weekend anyway. Saturday morning, my sister and I are having breakfast at this diner she picked. She picked it off a list on her phone, and Daniel walks in. Alone. Sees us, does the surprised face, the delighted face, the shy face. I know that sequence now like I know my own name. He said he'd read about their pancakes and finally decided to try them. He was charming with my sister for exactly 11 minutes, didn't overstay, insisted on paying for our coffee, and left. My sister thought he was wonderful. I thought he was wonderful. But that night, some accountant in the back of my head quietly opened a file. Because that was the 5th coincidence. And the diner was in Grandview. Neither of us lived anywhere near Grandview. Here's where I have to talk about the mechanics because this is the part I didn't learn until it was over. And it's the reason I'm writing this at all. There's a reason he engineered coincidences instead of just pursuing me, and it's not because he was shy. Psychologists who study coercive control talk about how manipulation works best when the target believes they're the author of the relationship. If a man approaches you, you evaluate him. Your guard is up, your filters are running. But if the universe keeps handing him to you, there's nothing to evaluate. Fate doesn't have motives. And better, if you're the one who asked for his number, you're not deciding whether to trust a stranger anymore. You're defending a choice you already made. Every doubt that comes later has to fight against your own ego. He didn't get past my defenses. He built the situation so my defenses were never facing him at all. The escalation, when it came, was gentle. That's the other thing nobody tells you. I was waiting for red flags, and red flags in my head looked like anger, jealousy, control. Daniel never did any of that. What he did was slowly become the answer to every question. My car made a noise. He knew a guy. I hated my landlord. He'd help me look at listings. No pressure. Maya canceled plans twice in a row. He happened to be free both nights. Isn't that lucky? By August, I realized that almost every empty space in my week had Daniel in it, and I couldn't remember asking for that. But I also couldn't point to a moment where he'd pushed. Every single step had been offered, not demanded. And offers feel like love. What broke it open was the anglerfish again. I'm serious. It came back to me at 2 a.m. in late August. One of those nights where your brain decides to rerun old tapes. And this time the splinter wouldn't sand down because I remembered something else. I hadn't just listened to that podcast in the car. I'd shared the episode to my Instagram story that morning, 10 hours before our dinner. And I lay there in the dark next to this sleeping man, and I started scrolling back through my own stories with my screen brightness at minimum, like a burglar in my own life. The laundromat. 3 days before I met him, I'd posted a story complaining about my building having no washer, tagged with a poll, laundromat life, yes or no. The location was visible. The coffee shop downtown, I'd posted from it twice in the 2 weeks before he showed up there. The diner in Grandview. My sister had posted her list of breakfast places the night before and tagged me. My account was public. It had always been public. I had 400 followers and posted pictures of my cat. Why would it not be public? And somewhere in those 400, or watching without following, because you could do that with public accounts, was a man building a map of my life and then standing on it, waiting for me to walk by and call it destiny. I didn't confront him that night. I want to say I did something dramatic, but the truth is, I felt cold and stupid and strangely calm. And I decided I needed to be sure, because there was still a version of this where I was paranoid, where a good man was about to be accused because of a podcast in a diner. So I did a test. I'm not saying it was a smart test. It's just what I thought of. I posted a story on a Wednesday saying I was finally going to check out the farmers market in Clintonville on Saturday morning. So excited. I had no intention of going. Saturday morning, I sat in my apartment with my phone face down for 3 hours. At 11:40, he texted me. Casual, breezy. Funny story, he wrote. I'm at the Clintonville farmers market and I could swear I just saw your twin. Made me think of you. What are you up to today? I sat there and read that message maybe 30 times. There's a specific feeling when a suspicion confirms. It's not triumph. It's grief. The 2 months of good weren't good anymore, retroactively. All of it curdled at once. Every kind gesture reindexed as technique. The cat food. He'd seen the brand in a photo I posted. The way he never pushed. Of course he never pushed. Pushing is what you do when you don't already know where the person will be. I want to skip ahead to the part with answers, because this story actually has them, which I've learned is rare for this kind of thing. I told Maya everything, and Maya, who is the person you want in a crisis, did not say, "Are you sure?" She said, "We're going to find out who this man is. His last name, or the one he'd given me, plus IT contractor, plus Columbus, produced almost nothing, which is itself unusual for someone in tech. But one of the results was a tagged photo from 4 years ago. A 4th of July party in Dayton, and through that photo, a woman named Erin. I messaged her. I wrote and rewrote it about 9 times, and finally sent something like, "This is a strange question, but did you used to know a man named Daniel? Mid-30s, dark hair, and is there anything you'd want to tell a woman who's been seeing him?" She replied in under an hour. She said, "Before I answer, can I ask you one thing? Did you meet him by accident in a place you go regularly, and then keep running into him until you asked him out?" I read that sentence and my whole skin went cold. We talked on the phone that night for 2 hours. With Erin, it had been a dog park and a bookstore and her gym. And she'd been the one to suggest coffee, and she'd been so proud of herself for being brave. It lasted 8 months. It ended when she found a second phone. Not with other women on it, she said. That almost would have been easier. It had photos, her building, her office, her sister's house, screenshots of her posts going back to before they'd ever met, organized in folders by location. When she confronted him, she told me, he didn't get angry. He seemed confused. He said, "I just wanted to know you before you knew me. Everyone researches people they like. I just did it better." She'd gone to the police. And here's the part that I need people to hear, because it's the part that isn't in movies. There was almost nothing they could do. He'd never threatened her, never trespassed. Looking at public Instagram posts is not a crime. Being in the same grocery store as someone is not a crime. The whole method is designed to live in the gap between what feels like a violation and what the law recognizes as one. She got a report on file. That was all. He moved to Columbus about a year later. She said, when I asked why she hadn't posted about him somewhere, warned people. She said, warned who? I didn't know your name. I didn't know you existed until today. He picks women who don't know each other. The only person who could have warned you was me, and you found me by luck, which is its own kind of horror if you sit with it. The warning system for this kind of man is a chain of women who will never meet. What I did next, I did with Erin's story in my pocket and a lawyer friend of Maya's on speaker. I didn't do the movie Confrontation. I was advised specifically not to. Because men like this feed on process, on dialogue, on the negotiation itself. And the only move that works is a clean wall. I met him in a public place, a coffee shop, my choice, midday. Maya at a table across the room. I told him I knew about the farmer's market, that I knew I'd never told him about the podcast, that I'd spoken to Erin. I watched his face when I said her name, and for about half a second, for the only time in 6 months, I saw the actual person. Not anger, calculation, a man checking exits. And then the mask came back, and he did exactly what Erin said he would. He got soft, hurt even. He said the coincidences were real, that he couldn't help living in the same neighborhood, that Erin was unwell and had harassed him for years, that he'd never once done anything I hadn't invited. And that last part was the masterpiece, right? Because it was technically true. That was the whole design. I invited everything. I asked for his number. I suggested half the dates. The trap was built from my own choices, which is why it took me so long to see the architecture, because everywhere I looked, I found my own fingerprints. I told him that if he contacted me again, appeared near my building, my work, my laundromat, my anything, everything went to the police alongside Erin's existing report. Same method, 2 cities, documented pattern. And then I stood up and left, and I didn't look back at him, which took everything I had, and Maya followed me out. And in the car, I shook for about 20 minutes. And then, weirdly laughed. I don't know how to explain that laugh. Something between relief and rage, like a fire alarm finally shutting off. He texted once, 3 days later, a long message about how sad it was that the world had made women so suspicious that kindness looked like a crime. I didn't answer. I photographed it, logged it, filed it. Then nothing, weeks of nothing, then months. I made my accounts private. I stopped posting locations, then mostly stopped posting at all, which I resent, by the way. I'm allowed to resent it. He got to keep living exactly as before, and I'm the one who went dark. In February, Erin sent me a message. A woman in Pittsburgh had found her the same way I had, through the same tagged photo. Kept running into a great guy, dog park, bakery, bus stop. Something felt off. Started digging. He'd been there since November. The 3 of us have a group chat now, which is the strangest sisterhood I've ever been part of. And when I tell you that the Pittsburgh woman's first message was almost word for word my message to Erin, it was word for word. Did you meet him by accident? Did you keep running into him? Were you the one who asked? So the story has an ending, at least mine does. He's gone from my city. There's a documented trail now, 3 women long, that will be waiting if he ever gives the police something they can use. It's not justice, exactly. It's more like a tripwire we left behind us for the next woman. And I hate that the tripwire is all we have. But it's not nothing. Here's what I actually want you to take from this. Beyond, stay safe and trust your gut. Because honestly, my gut said nothing for months. My gut loved him. Instinct is not a security system, it's a smoke detector, and this man never made smoke. Take this instead. Coincidence has math. 1 chance meeting is a neighborhood. 2 is a small world. 3 or more, in places connected to nothing except your own posted life, is a pattern. And patterns have authors. And if you ever look back at a relationship and realize that every single step forward was your idea, but somehow he was always already standing exactly where your next step would land, ask yourself the question I didn't ask until 2 in the morning in August. Not, is this fate? Ask who had the map.